Coming up, a lively exchange between Janet from Jamaica at Jamaica Culinary Tours and Paul from Galileats in Israel.
Pleasure joining you for the setup. Enjoy
Hi.
and be watching for the Facebook Live.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi,
Bye.
Paul. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Janet. Hi, everyone. How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm great. I just want to start by saying, first of all, thank you to Tamar and that for people who perhaps don't know, we're both members of a fantastic group, an international group called Food Tours with a Z. And I think during the past month, we meet every Thursday, and we've really there's a certain bonding, there's a certain good vibe there, which I think is really good, and it's really, really nice. And I want to say personally, I'm really excited. You know, I know nothing about Jamaica except for cricket, and so I'm really excited to talk to you tonight about, you know, about bread, obviously, but about other
Right,
stuff.
yeah, I'm really excited too, Paul, and I really say thanks to the Food Tours Operators Group. It's been a fantastic 4 to 6 weeks meeting, sharing with one another. You know, during the pandemic, most of us are not able to do our physical food tours. So, you know, we've been thinking around what we can do to stay connected with our audiences, keep people interested in food, which is, I mean, central to life. It doesn't matter what country you're in, food is the heartbeat, it's the soul. So I'm excited to be here talking about, you know, breads. We had a session last week with two ladies, one from the US and one from Peru, was it? They were talking about breads, and we thought we would carry it forward this week. And, you know, when the group heard Jamaica and Israel, they thought, wow, that is going to be quite a match. So
that's pretty wild. Yeah, it is good. But I've got a question. Your sister Anne isn't with us. Isn't online with us today, unfortunately. But you're good. But I want to know what it's. I want to know what it's like to. How did you get into a business with your sister?
Well, actually, we are very close, so we like to travel a lot. And you know, in recent years in traveling, we started getting into doing culinary experiences, whether it was a cooking tour, a demo, a food tour. And we were just looking for a business opportunity jointly. And we thought, you know what, Jamaica has some of the most fantastic food in the world. Why not start a food tour and, you know, bring people together, introduce them to our food, into our culture. And that's how it started about 6-7 years ago. So I am the face of the business. That's what Anne likes to say, because she does have a full-time job otherwise, but she's very integrally involved from the back end. So, but it's been an exciting few years. We enjoyed the ride. Yeah.
I think it's. How long have you been doing? Only 2 years.
No. About this is our 6th year now. Yeah.
Oh, 6 years. Yeah, I'm also 7 years. So yeah, okay.
Yeah. And what about you? Tell me about you. The first thing you have to tell me is you're a man with an Australian accent living in Israel.
Well,
doing tours about Galilee. So there's a story there, I know.
Yeah, maybe there's a story there. No, there is a story there. But it's a boring story. I'll tell it anyway, but it's a boring story. And that is that, hang on one sec, excuse me for 1 second. I came to Israel on a gap year. I finished my high school in Australia. I'm Jewish, of course. I finished high school in 1977. In 1978, I was in Israel for a year. I came back a second time. I liked it. I came back a third time. And I decided to stay. So
third time's a charm.
Yeah, that time lucky, I guess. And then I met my wife, the woman who was to become my wife here in Israel, and she's from Boston. So even if we wanted to leave, I didn't want to go to Boston. She didn't want to go to Melbourne. And so
it seemed like a good place to settle.
Yeah. I'm not. No one's complaining. It's actually great. Anyway, let's get into the bread, because people are here actually not just listening to us.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Well, you go first.
Okay. Well, I'll kick it off. I'm gonna make everybody hungry. It's lunchtime, but I have a whole tray here.
Oh my God!
I
Oh,
have
that's not fair.
breads here that I'm going to be talking to you about today. And well, let me just start with one, and then I'll hand back over to you, and then we can go back and forth.
Okay,
so, by the
great.
way, just before I get started, I should tell our audience that they can ask questions. So just put it in the chat box, and we'll try to save like 2 to 3 minutes before the end to answer some of your questions. All right, because we want to make it interactive, so not just us. So, okay, so I'm starting with this particular bread, which is known as bami. Okay, I'll spell that for you. That's B-A-M-M-Y. Now, bami is a traditional flat bread, and it was handed down to us by the Tainos, who were the original inhabitants of the island.
Is it as flat as that?
Right? Okay, yeah, there you go. So this is the bami in its raw form. Now, how do you get to this form? It starts with the cassava, which is a root vegetable, or it's a tuber. So it's kind of complex and complicated to get from here to here. But basically, you're going to peel the cassava, grate it, and then pound it to extract the juice. The juice is bitter, so you want to discard the juice. Then you take the grated cassava and you put it out in the sun, or just leave it out to dry for a couple of hours. Add a pinch of salt, and then shape it into flat cakes, which are about 3/4 inch thick. So you notice this cake is about 3/4 inch thick. And then
how do you cook it?
Okay, that stage you can fry it, which is the traditional way, or you can steam it, or you can bake it. No, but if you wanted to, after you've actually dried it and shaped it into cakes, you can actually store it in the refrigerator or the freezer. It has a very, very long storage life, up to about several months, actually. When you're ready to consume it, then you remove it from the fridge. You soak it in some coconut milk.
Ooh, it sounds good.
You fry it until it's golden brown on both sides. So that's a traditional way. So if you look at my plate here, then you see now I've fried it. It's golden brown on both sides. And what would you eat the bami with? You normally pair it with fish. Okay, so this is just some, I have some salt mackerel here on my plate. It's really salted mackerel, but nobody in Jamaica says salted. So that's just it's just like pick up mackerel. And so when you break open the bami, it will be nice and crisp, okay? Now, when you fry it in quite a lot of oil, I must say. So some people prefer not to use that much oil. So another way of doing it, a healthier option, would be to steam it or to bake it.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't taste as good though.
No, it doesn't. Exactly. So, I mean, unhealthy is always the way to go, right?
I'm with you. Absolutely.
Nice crunchy taste. Then you get the texture.
Sure.
That goes nicely with the texture of your fish. But we don't only eat it with fish. You can eat it with anything. And bami is traditionally a breakfast dish, but you can have it breakfast, lunch, or even dinner. And we serve this one on our tour. So that's the bami. That's my first one. And why don't you jump in and tell me about one of yours?
All right. Well, I'm gonna start with the mother. This is just plain old pita bread. Okay.
But what did you calling it the mother? Okay.
It's the mother because I'll show you now. From the pita bread, they also make things like, I got to get my like that, which is a flat pita bread with a spicy pepper, or they also make, and that is with a spice mix called za'atar. Za'atar is almost the Israeli national spice mix, and in fact, I have a little bit. I have a little bit of it here. What's in fact. Okay. What's in it? Za'atar itself is actually hyssop, which is a cousin of oregano, and then it grows wild everywhere. You pick it, dry it, crush it, and add to it sesame seeds and another sour spice, a little bit of salt, and a sour spice that's called sumac. Sumac is a purple spice that also is the seeds grow, the bushes grow locally here, and it's ground up, and it gives a nice sour flavor. And so that's za'atar. And so it's very, very commonly eaten with bread. But this pita bread is eaten with lots of things. There's two ways of actually eating it. Okay, one is, of course, you rip the top off it.
You're right.
And as it's known, it's like a...
Oh, it's like a pocket, yeah? So
it's a pocket bread, yeah. It's the original pocket bread. Okay, and you can stuff it with all sorts of stuff like shawarma or falafel or all the other great street foods you can get in Israel. But there's also another thing that's really, really important with the pita bread, and that is the national dip, which is hummus. Hummus hummus is essentially chickpeas cooked up, made into a paste. It's cooked up and then it's put into like a Maggi mix into a machine to make it into a paste. And then tahina, which is sesame paste, is added to that. A little bit of lemon juice, and then this would have to be the Israeli national dip. And in fact, Israel has a certain rambunctious political system here, and we have a few conflicts here and there. But But the one thing that no one agrees about in Israel is where is the best hummus. There are little hummus shacks all over the country. And I bought this from actually the hummus shack, which is my personal favorite in the town of Akko. And what you do is you take a bit of hummus like that. Now, there's also a big argument what you do with the hummus. Right. Do you dip it like that and eat it? You're going to excuse me for a second?
Of course. It's lunchtime. Well, it's lunchtime here.
Dinner here. Do you dip? Or do you wipe on a sideway motion?
Oh.
Okay, and they're the two ways of eating hummus. And that is great. It is so...
It looks great. It looks absolutely fantastic. How long does the bread take to bake?
Not long at all. I want to put a photo up of the oven. So just wait 1 second. Okay. Can we see? Okay, now that's the oven that I bought the people today. And that's called a tabbouleh oven. You can see it's got a big gas thing on the side there, and they're put into this round oven. And they don't take very long at all. The regular pita bread, like like this, takes 2 or 3 minutes. It's very hot in there.
Because I was gonna say it looks pretty hot. Yeah,
it's very, very hot in there. It's about 500 Celsius, I think. And these breads here actually take a little bit longer, but it's no more than 5 minutes because again it's so hot, and the underneath gets done. And this you just rip.
Yeah. Wow, that looks awesome. Yeah.
Do you have another bread you want to show us?
I do. I'm going to move on and I'm going to tell you about the festival. Yeah, we have a bread called
festival. That's great.
All right. So that's this long bread, this long one here. And the festival, whereas the Bami goes back way back centuries, this one was invented more recently.
What is it?
Well, it's a dough made from cornmeal, flour, a little bit of sugar, water, of course. And you just make a dough, rub it together, and then, of course, you pull it to get this shape. And then you deep fry it, and because of the cornmeal and a little bit of brown sugar, you get that slightly sweet taste. Now, for those who watched Deborah last week, she was talking about hush puppies. And whenever when we serve the festival on our food tours to Americans, they often say that it reminds them a lot of the hush puppy. And I think Deborah did say that the hush puppy also has cornmeal in it. So it's very similar. But when she showed hers last week, hers was round, whereas ours is long. So we would typically eat this. As I said, it was invented by beachside cooks on the eastern side of the island. So normally they would pair it with fish, but nowadays we pair it a lot with the jerk. I'm sure you've heard of our jerk.
I love jerk.
So you can see the jerk, right? So if you go to a typical jerk shack or jerk restaurant, you'll always see festival on the menu.
Okay.
It's
And what
pretty.
and what festivals would you eat it at? Like, you know, you said it's a festive food. What does that mean? What festival would you eat it for?
You eat it for anything. Yeah, so you don't have
Oh,
to wait until a festival.
oh, I see. Oh, I see. By the
So,
way, I just want to say, there's been a number of people who want the hummus recipe.
right.
I will post a really good hummus recipe afterwards, on the food tours site.
Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, so that's an answer to that. Now
Yeah.
there's another bread here I want to show you. This is
Please
called
do.
this is called a Drew's bread. Now this is a very super
How do
thin
you spell that?
Druze. Now the Druze are a very small minority here in Israel. They broke off from Islam 1,000 years ago. I won't go into their whole history, but I do a lot of the work that I do with my Druze hosts. And this pita bread. Now I don't know if you can see my hand through it.
I can. Yeah.
But but it's
that's
really,
interesting.
really, really thin. It's super thin. It's like paper. Okay.
Yeah.
And what it's done is this is a real communal bread. What happens is not every person sitting at the table will get a whole one of these. They'll put 2 or 3 of these breads in the middle of the table, and everyone just rips a piece off. And when you really talk about breaking bread and sharing bread together,
Right.
this Drew's bread is people share it at the table together. And give me a minute, because I also want to. I'm going to like turn the screen off me for a second, because
Yes.
this Drew's bread is often eaten
Oh,
with
lovely.
labanais. Now this is labanais. Labanais is somewhere between a cheese and a yogurt. Okay, so what we're going to do is we put some of the labanais just like that.
Wow, that looks lovely.
Yeah, it's very sour. It's really good. Yeah, it's really none of this low fat stuff. It's all you know.
No fat's boring. So
No, low fat is boring. And then if I get my top off, wait on, and then you pour some olive oil. Now there's almost not a dish in Israel that doesn't have olive oil. My olive oil, I only use olive oil from the locals in this area. The olive oil here is fantastic. Then some of the za'atar that I had,
right.
and that is labanais with za'atar. And then I'm going to go back to me now.
Yeah.
And then what you do is you take.
Wow, you really take off a nice chunk there.
Oh yeah, you just take up. It's very thin. Look how thin it is. You know, you can see my hand through it. It's so thin. And then what you do again with the labanais, you just, excuse me.
Nope, go ahead, dig in.
But there is another way of doing it as well, and that is,
That's good.
And there's one other way you can do it, and we'll take a bigger slice of bread.
Bigger the better.
Flatten it out a little bit, and then make a wrap out of it. If you have a look here, you take
okay, yeah, sure, yeah. So you're putting
then,
dip on it, right?
Yep. You just spread it. out.
Right.
Okay, you can't see it very well. There we are.
Yeah, I got it. I'm seeing.
Yeah, you spread it out.
Yeah.
And then wrap it.
Oh, wonderful.
Wrap it up like that.
And
Okay.
voila. Lovely. So you said this is a communal type of bread, so a lot of people would
Very
gather
much.
around to eat this. So what time of day is that? Breakfast, lunch, dinner? It doesn't matter.
Breakfast. It's often eaten. The labanais, because it's a dairy product,
Yes.
is actually often eaten at breakfast.
Okay.
But it can be eaten all day.
Okay. Great.
You know,
that's
so that.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's.
I love that. And that one, so the baking process is even shorter then because it's so thin. How long do you bake that for?
So that it gets baked. I don't have a picture of it. It gets baked on a very special, I guess you'd call it a griddle. If you imagine like a wok, turn the wok upside down.
Okay.
And put a very strong heat source underneath the wok, and so but you've got it like on the curved section. Yeah. And then you roll the dough out very, very, very thin. It's got no yeast in it.
Right.
Put put it onto a cushion because it's too hot. You have these giant cushions that are like even bigger than this. Like you have a really big cushion, and they put the cushion with the uncooked dough on the sage, on the upside down wok thing, and they don't even turn it over. It's like 1 minute because it's so hot and it's so thin. It only takes a minute to cook.
Wow, that's fantastic. That must be fantastic to watch. Do you actually take people on your food tours to see?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, bread. I mean, you know, breaking bread and bread everywhere in the world, I think, is always going to be part of a food tour. And certainly, a lot of the groups, we do cooking workshops, and we also do food tours. And on the cooking workshops, we often make this bread. Our guests will often actually get to make the bread.
Experience. That's fantastic.
It is great, actually. Or I'll take, there's a bakery that I love working with. It's one of the last bakeries in at least in the north that I know of that still has a wood-fed oven. It's an old wood-fed oven, and I take guests there on my culinary tours, and they actually see the bread being made from the flour, being put into the oven, and it's fire everywhere.
Yeah.
And the bread, of course, is just out of this world.
It's fantastic. And then they sit down and eat, right? Oh,
yeah.
I've got to come to Israel to do that. I've got to. And
you know what? I'm gonna come to Jamaica, and you do. I'll do one of your tours.
You to cricket, okay?
That's a deal. And you'll come to Israel, and I won't take you to cricket either.
There you go. No, you won't.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we just have a few more minutes, so I'm gonna just wrap up with my last one, which is Johnny cake or the fried dumpling. All right.
So donut.
What is the mystery behind the Johnny cake? Well, Johnny cake actually dates back to the sugar plantation era. You know, Jamaica was once a colony. We were colonized by the British and the Spanish. And during that time, the plantation owners would often have to make long journeys. And so the enslaved would prepare something for them that they could take on this long journey. And so they would make these journey cakes, which later became
Johnny cakes.
Right? And basically, again, it's just a dough, flour, water, baking powder, a bit of salt, some people with a bit of milk, and you shape the dough into round balls. These are very big. I picked this up from one of our local cook shops, which is very, very popular at breakfast time. So I think they give you very healthy portions. But if I made this at home, it would be a bit smaller. It would be probably 3/4 this size. Yeah, and then so you shape it into a round ball, and then you fry it till it's golden brown on all sides. And how would you eat the Johnny cake, also known as a fried dumpling, because that's what it is? Again, you would pair it with some type of fish. So again, I have it on the plate with a bit of salt mackerel, but you could do it with any kind of fish. It's very popular with our national dish, which is ackee and salt fish. Yeah.
Okay. You seem like you have a lot of fish in Jamaica.
Well, again, that dates back to the sugar plantation era when the slave owners would import salted meat or salted cod because it was an economical way of feeding the enslaved because it stretches for a long time. So you find a lot of that in our diet. And yes, we do eat some amount of seafood, but chicken is actually the most favorite meat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and when you tear this open, sometimes you could put a dab of butter with it if you want. And your Johnny cakes are going to show up on your breakfast table. People eat them throughout the day, but it's primarily a breakfast product. And
do they keep for a long time? Because if they were made, let's say, to transport, people would take them to transport. I would think that they would maybe keep a bit longer. Or am I wrong?
Yeah. Back then, that was the whole purpose, that it would serve the plantation owner for a day or several hours or a day's trip. Nowadays, we don't really keep them because it's so doughy and it's fried. If you keep it too long, it's not really nice the second day around. So we don't have to do that now. Our journey is just up to the cook shop, 5 minutes away, and you can get a fresh batch. So no need to keep them.
Oh, by the way, Marina Delphos has just said that Johnny cakes are very good with butter, cheese, and guava jam.
Hi, Marina. Marina is my business partner.
Okay.
Yeah, we have sat down at breakfast and had many a fried dumpling together. Some of the best cook shops.
I'm looking forward to having some when I get to Jamaica. I don't know when that's going to be, but hopefully one day.
I will. Yeah. Well, we don't know, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I believe it. I believe it.
Are there any more questions in the chat?
Yeah. I can't see any questions. I can see any questions so much come up. Just talking about the hummus, and a few people saying Maria has, hi Maria, who's very much who we love having her in our group all the time in Portugal.
Yes.
But
Maria
I can't
kicked
see
us off last week with a very good,
Yeah.
interesting conversation she had.
Yeah. I can't see any real questions here. But that's okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you. I know we are running out of time, but I want you to tell me. I come on one of your tours. Please tell me what you would do with me on one of your. Where would you take me? What would we do?
Well, basically, what we like to do is to take you off the beaten track. So
That's
we're not
good
going to
already.
take you to places that you would find on your own. And what we always tell our guests is we take you where we go. So we're going to the little guy in the alley who sells coconut water, and you're watching him cut the coconuts. You're scooping out the jelly for yourself. We're going to the local bakery, which is always crowded at lunchtime, and you're jostling for our seats. And eating one of our favorite pastries, which is the patty, which is like a meat pie. And we're really taking you into the heart and soul of our townships. But we also like to mix in a lot of the history. So we tell you about the history and where one of our walking tours takes place is in Falmouth, which is a beautiful historic town.
Which
so
town's
we're showing
that?
you Falmouth, which is on the western side of the island. Very British name, because we're colonized British. And we're showing you the architecture, which dates back to the 18th and 17th century. Like our courthouse was built in 1815 and so on. So it's the history, it's the architecture, it's the food, it's the culture, it's everything that's weaved into one. So when you leave the food tour, you really have gotten an insight, not just into the food, but into Jamaica, the people as a whole. And that's what food tours, I think, are like around the world. It's like one of the best ways to know a destination. And
Absolutely.
I'm fascinated because you do yours in Galilee, right?
Yes, we do it in the Galileats in the north of Israel. And I've been, whilst, as you can tell, and we've spoken about, I wasn't born here, but I've been living here for 35 years already. So I'm very much a person of the Galilee, and I'm a chef, and so I sort of know what's going on with the food and everything. And so, our food tours are the same but different. We will go on our food tours. We'll see 3,000-year-old olive trees, the oldest olive trees in Israel.
Wow.
And we'll talk there a little bit about how how important the olives are to the local culture, which they are. And then we'll go to a bakery, we'll go to a winery very often and see how the old and the new come together. We usually have a home hospitality lunch again. So it's not just about the food, it's actually so we can meet the people who live in the villages in the Galilee. Like I say, it's like what you do, but just you're in Jamaica. I'm in Israel. It's all about the culture.
Yeah, it is, and it's, as I said, it's just such a fantastic way to get to know a destination, because you're getting to know more than just the food. You're getting the whole picture, and I think that's why, Paul, we all enjoy what we do. I mean, it's hard work.
Very hard work, and you don't make it. And you don't make any money from it. Don't tell anyone, but
that's our secret.
You don't get rich. You can't see me. You can't see my bottom half, which is just as well.
yeah, just as well. We'll just keep it up here.
I think it's definitely the way to go.
Great talking to you.
It's been a lot of fun.
And sharing with our audience. I really hope that everybody enjoyed the talk, that you learned a little bit about breads from Israel. I know I'm hooked. I'm definitely putting it on my bucket list. Come and visit you. I want to see some of that bread being prepared. And I hope you learned a little bit about my culture, about Jamaica.
I definitely did. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. This has been Food Tours Live, Food Tours around the world. We will be bringing you snippets of different cultures and foods over the next few weeks. I'm not sure who is up next, but I know it's going to be great. I will be watching you do the same.
Oh, so will I.
Thanks so much again for joining.
And I'm going to see you. I'm going to see you tomorrow night, because tomorrow night you have. Please just get. I know we have to go, but please 2 words about tomorrow night, please.
Tomorrow night, we're hosting, that's Anna and I from Jamaica Culinary Tours, we're hosting a virtual dinner party. We're doing that only for the Food Tours members group tomorrow night. They're kind of our guinea pigs.
I'm gonna be there.
They're going to tell us, what works, what doesn't, but I'll give you a teaser. It's called Reggae Rum and Dinner.
I'm into that.
Yeah, bring your glass tomorrow, and then we will be launching.
This is water. Tomorrow will be rum.
Tomorrow we'll be launching that tour very soon. So to our listeners, to our followers, everybody out there, watch out for the Reggae Rum and Dinner tour.